have come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, where I am broadcasting currently in this palatial and sumptuous broadcast studio. 2 miles east of the veritable belly of the beast. The locus of evil on the entire West Coast. That's the Capitol building in Sacramento, Shatramento, Fornicalia, 2 miles that way, where evil exists. And late at night after my show, you can literally smell the sulfur and brimstone in the air. Welcome already to Mary Brockman, and also to Mike. You got to belly up to the bar. You know what? We've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. Fluffy is going to be your bartender. He pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is, in fact, lighted. Back here to my left, your right, indicating that you can listen and watch the show at shrmedia.com. You can also, you can listen and chat at shrmedia.com. But you can watch the show on the SHR Media YouTube channel and the SHR Media Facebook page, and also the SHR Media group on Periscope. And because Periscope is linked to Twitter, when I jump into Periscope, sometimes you get a notificazione, that I'm going to be on. And I got to tell you, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight, I have to tell you that I was thinking I'm not going to do any shows this week. It's been very stressful for everybody. Everyone you know is stressed out. I can just about guarantee you that's true. And with all the other things that are going on in BZ's life right now, I just thought, Mary Brockman says no sound on SHR. Well, let's look. Okay, no, I'm showing sound on SHR. You got sound. It's out there in the ozone. You just got to get to it. So, and of all the things I know now about finding sound. In any event, I thought, no. Tonight, this week, next week, until November 6th, that is not the time to go away. So I decided this. Until November 6th, I'm going to be doing my best to point out the obvious. There is great news out there for conservatives. We have to remain positive, and we must get out and vote. We cannot afford, however, to be smug or complacent with the recent win involving now Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. This is the time to double down on resolution, to commit to supporting anything and everything that isn't a Democrat, a leftist, or part of the American media maggots. We can't afford to listen to the bad news that leftists they're going to ratchet up and continue to spew about conservatives and our chances. We know they lie. They are biased, and they publish falsehoods with impunity. The American media maggots are nothing more than the publishing arm of Democrats and leftists. We have to vote red in November. We have to keep the House. We have to keep the Senate. We have to mail in our absentee ballots. We can let nothing, absolutely nothing, deter us from appearing at the polls on November 6th. No matter the circumstances, no matter the weather. It doesn't matter at all. Leftists, here's why. Because leftists, Democrats, and in fact, all of the, a good portion, let's put it this way, a good portion of the American media maggots want to destroy us. Conservatives, Republicans. They want to eliminate us, hurt us both politically and these days physically as well. We cannot let this stand. So commitment, resolution, fortitude, it's time to stand up for America and for the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Because if I don't, no one else will. If you don't, no one else will. That's why we have to vote red on November 6th, to make sure that we do, in fact, keep America great. Not make America great. We keep America great. So what I'm going to have tonight is a reflection of how did we get here? What have people said? What's been said the past week? And where are we going? Buttressed and supported by the fact that, hey, if you think that everything is bad and evil and mean, just like last Thursday and last week, I went looking around. And, there's a lot of good, positive stuff out there if you find it. And from now until November 6th, my job is to keep you informed, which thusly in turn keeps me informed. And I need you to be aware of the strategies and ploys that are going to be foisted upon both of us. But there's lots of good news out there if we know where to look and take advantage of it. We started the fire. We kept the fire. We got to keep the fire burning. I'm in my 7th decade. I have never come across a set of midterms, really, and everybody says this every time, but you know that this is true. Leftists, the LDAM, they want to turn this country into socialism, into a socialist country. And all you have to do is go and look at Europe to find out, oh, that's working swimmingly, isn't it? Or you have to look down south at Venezuela. Oh, that's working swimmingly too, because guaranteed, Colombia and Brazil, they're not much so impressed with Venezuela. The socialist workers' paradise. This is what the all damn leftists, Democrats, and the American media maggots would have foisted onto you. Because as far as the leftists are concerned, you're either a tool for them or you're an obstacle. And if you're an obstacle, you need to be removed by any means necessary. Have you ever heard that before? But wait, didn't we have some really important people, air quotes, important people, telling us that, we could never even get where we are right now at all?
Now President Obama weighing in, saying yet again that he does not believe that Donald Trump can end up winning this election in November, despite the fact that he's got double the strength in the polls as his next closest competitor right now, nationally and in South Carolina.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
President Obama on the Republican frontrunner.
It's
right.
Not hosting a talk show or a reality show. It's hard.
Trump's response.
This man has done such a bad job. He has set us back so far. And for him to say that actually is a great compliment.
Trump's double-digit lead in our latest NBC News SurveyMonkey national poll mirrors what's happening in South Carolina.
We love South Carolina. Let's go.
He's got twice as much support as Ted Cruz, who's battling it out for second with Marco Rubio.
This election has to be about making a difference.
On the other hand, Jeb Bush, a distant fourth in Palmetto State polls.
I will be a commander-in-chief, not an agitator-in-chief.
Guess what, Bushy? No, you won't. Well, that was Obama, and I'm sorry. I'm going to take us through a reminder of how it is that we got here. And my job, from now until November 6th, is to make sure that you and I are invigorated. But I'm sorry. If we don't take the time occasionally to smell the roses, this is, again, one of my all-time favorite All-time
be
favorites.
The nominee, Chuck. I mean, as you know, I'm ahead in Ohio.
Kasich.
So, Jenny, could he actually win?
No freaking way!
He will be tempted.
I'm sorry. I just love the hell out of this.
To run, be predictably shellacked.
Do not tell me that Donald Trump is in this to win this, okay? He's a sideshow.
This is going to... Okay, let me tell you something else right now. I've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of contact from America's truckers, and I tried to market myself to America's truckers because you men and women are out on the roads right now driving. I can tell you it's about 8:12 over on the left coast, and it's 11:12 out on the far east coast, and in the middle... All over from coast to coast, American truckers are running right now. And I play this stuff because I want you to hear. Obviously, you're not going to be watching any TV, but you can be listening to this. And I want... Listen, if you can't laugh at some of this stupid crap, what can you do? So as you're driving, God bless you for moving America's marketables and for the service that you do. And you keep America moving.
Turn a three-ring circus into a freak show.
He's not running for president. He's running for Keep Me Famous.
I thought this was maybe some strategy for a new reality show.
How should Republicans handle Donald Trump?
Ignore him.
And Donald Trump is not going to be the nominee of this party.
Well, I don't think it's likely that Donald Trump will be the nominee.
Well, I do, based on your theme, believe that he's here to stay for a while, maybe through a few primaries, but he is not going to be the nominee.
Well, I'm going to support the Republican nominee, and I'm comfortable that it's not going to be Donald Trump.
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump.
George Clooney.
That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump will not become president.
Bernie!
He's not going to be president. He is
Nancy.
not. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States.
Right.
Take it to the bank. I guarantee it.
All right, all right.
I think if he becomes the president,
Tom
he'll
Hanks.
make it great because the states is already great.
I think that man will be president of the United States right about the time that spaceships come down filled with dinosaurs and red capes.
On that note, Tom,
Take it from me. How about that?
Cheers, Tom.
And then, of course, there's Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
Right.
So when you stand and deliver that State of the Union address, in no part of your mind or brain can you imagine Donald Trump standing up one day and delivering a State of the Union address?
Well, I can imagine it in a Saturday night skit. I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Right? He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
Sorry to laugh.
George
Okay,
Stephanopoulos.
here we are. And which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones, right now, Donald Trump.
And so, right now, Mr. Trump, to answer your call for political honesty, I just want to say, you're not going to be president, all right?
Stephen Colbert.
But come on, buddy. All, let's say, cow poo-poo aside, there is zero chance we'll be seeing you being sworn in on the Capitol steps with your hand on a giant golden Bible.
I'll make a prediction, though, for you. And I don't really get into predictions much, but this one I'll go way out on a limb. Donald Trump will never, ever be president of the United States. That Trump should not be in this race. He's an absurdity. He is a travesty.
Yeah.
Donald Trump will never be elected president of the United States.
Thanks, Harry.
Donald Trump is a here today, gone tomorrow candidate
Nancy.
for president of the United States. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Ever respectful of the fact that the people have not voted, he's not going to be president of the United States.
Let's be clear. Donald Trump will lose the election.
Fareed.
I mean, he had a really good chance to be different and really have a chance to change things, but he doesn't do the work. He's lazy.
We talk about him every day, and we continuously bash him. He's not going to be the president. Don't worry about it. exactly.
This will be a wake-up call to the Republican Party. Despite Boris thinking that Donald Trump could win New York, like this, the presidential race is over.
Could I just cut through? I have one thing to say, one thing only.
Bob Beckel.
And that is that this race is over. Tomorrow morning, the money will dry up. The Republicans will start to hide.
Yeah.
Trump has no place to go.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, welcome to Whiskey Dale and Beantown Billy in chat.
Race, effectively, as of tonight, is no longer a presidential race. I mean, everything I know about presidential politics, and I've been through 5 of them, I've never seen one like this. This race is over. You might as well accept it. And the question now is, how do you minimize damage?
Right.
And the only way you can do that, it seems to me, is to try to grab hold of some old conservative value things and do what Mondale did in '84, which is try to save a few people down ballot. But as far as Donald Trump's concerned,
yeah, because Mondale was so effective.
It will never, ever, ever happen.
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Our new NBC.
I'm sorry, when you hear that, don't you feel like letting out a really big curse word? Go ahead, yell it in the cab of your truck. Go.
NBC News Survey Monkey poll is out today. It puts Hillary Clinton up by 10 points over Donald Trump. And this is not the first poll since the conventions to give Clinton a double-digit lead. This is actually the fourth. 4 polls that have Clinton up by more than 10 points, or at least 10 points.
By the way, there's another reason I'm playing this for you. You know what it is, don't you?
Staying the kind of lead she has leaped out into this race, you could see other states that suddenly get crazy. States you wouldn't have even imagined, like a South Carolina, even a Texas, they could at least become competitive. And what it would mean doesn't mean Hillary Clinton's going to win all of these. It means we could have more competitive states than we ever imagined. Really? That's the way to lay the land right now at this low moment for Donald Trump. We'll be back right after this.
We are back with David Hundo P.
Now,
the man who says Hillary Clinton has a 100% chance.
The realization.
So that means that no scenario that we could lay out to get Donald Trump to 270
kind
electoral
of
votes is something he would buy. So we thought we'd get David in here to look at those scenarios that the Republicans are talking about, citing them as a potential path to victory, and explain to us why they are not just implausible, but impossible.
Impossible.
If you look at Wisconsin, the Marquette poll came out yesterday. She's up 6 points. She's up 4 points in our polling in Pennsylvania. If she keeps those together, all she needs is New Hampshire, and she puts the race away, and she's up there.
Well,
so
for
again,
for them to look at fortune, and it is true, fortune favors the bold.
Yeah.
If the Comey bomb didn't get them where they need to be.
That really is the question. It's it'll be interesting tomorrow night, I think, when Hillary Clinton wins, that Donald Trump will have lost this election from the very first day he announced.
If the numbers bear out what we're seeing thus far, Hillary Clinton will win Florida. And the delicious irony in this is that Donald Trump will have been kept from the White House by a big, beautiful brown wall.
Really?
And CNN projects Donald Trump will carry the state of Florida, Kentucky, Indiana, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Mississippi, South Carolina, Alabama, Kansas with its 6 electoral votes, Nebraska with its 5 electoral votes, and Wyoming with its 3 electoral votes, North Dakota with its 3 electoral votes, and South Dakota, Texas, Arkansas. He has now taken the lead. Donald Trump has 128 electoral votes. Louisiana, the state of Montana, Missouri, Ohio. He has 167 electoral votes compared to Hillary Clinton's 109. Idaho, North Carolina, Georgia, Iowa, Utah, Wisconsin, Arizona.
But we should really just take a moment here and look at this. Pollsters predicted that Hillary Clinton was going to have not just a victory, but that she was going to win an electoral landslide. Right. Not only is that not happening, it is entirely possible that Donald Trump is truly redrawing the map the way that he said he was going to. It was Donald Trump versus almost all the experts, and as of right now, it looks like Donald Trump was right.
Donald Trump has defeated Hillary Clinton to become president-elect of the United States.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business. Complicated.
This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for. And I'm sorry that we did not win this election.
I love this country.
The shockwaves from Donald Trump's victory continue to be felt across America and around the world.
Donald Trump wird der 45.
Élu Donald Trump, président-elect Donald Trump.
Everyone was wrong. The backlash begins. Some magazines are facing big embarrassments today. Newsweek had already shipped out this cover, Madam Secretary, but quickly had to change it to this, President Trump.
Here we go.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
And that is how we got Trump 45. You know, and the thing about it is, if you can't take a victory lap now and then, what's the point of winning? Well, the point of winning is also being cognizant of what's going on around you. And the next couple of audio cuts really illustrate what's going on. Now, the first cut that I have right here is of Ben Shapiro, and he makes probably the most pointed illustration of what needs to happen from now until November 6th. I couldn't have said it better.
While conservatives have been able to carve out an effective independent media presence and have been able to achieve political victory in elections, the chief cultural institutions of our nation are in the hands of leftists, radicals, who don't care about individual rights, or at least not the individual rights of those who disagree. In their pursuit of utopia, every person is either a tool or an obstacle.
Bingo.
Now that Justice Kavanaugh is joining the Supreme Court, don't get complacent. Don't think the fight is over. It's just beginning. And now we know the stakes. Remember that on November 6th.
As I said, I couldn't have said it better, because just after it was that Ben Shapiro, who is one of the smartest thinkers on his feet, said that, we had a clear broadcast from the leftists, from the LDAM, the leftists, the Democrats, and the American media maggots, because she just said this today. And I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be cognizant of the fact the gloves are off. If you thought there was any civility remaining, make no mistake. She tells you that herself.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. Mm-hmm. But right. Until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength. And you heard how the Republican members, led by Mitch McConnell, the president, really demeaned the confirmation process, insulted and attacked not only...
We demeaned the confirmation process. Republicans demeaned the confirmation process. This, folks, this is ammunition. Store this. This is ammunition. Take it, grab it, store it. The other reason that I played the first cut, just because I enjoyed listening to that crap going on, is remember what the pollsters do. Remember how slanted the polls can be. That translates out to don't let polls on the very night of voting or the day of voting or the week prior to voting keep you from getting out and voting, because you know how supremely accurate all those polls really are.
Dr. Ford, but women who were speaking out. You know, look, I remember Republican operatives shutting down the voting in Florida in 2000. I remember the swift boating.
Relief. Operatives in Florida shutting down voting. Oh, that wouldn't be like Black Panthers shutting down voting in Philadelphia, you ignorant bint, would it? Oh, but I'm sorry, you can't mention that.
Of John Kerry. I remember the things that even the Republican Party did to John McCain in 2000. I remember what they
Stop right there. That's because John McCain was a Democrat.
Did to me for 25 years. The falsehoods, the lies, which unfortunately people believe because the Republicans have put a lot of time, money, and effort in promoting them. So when you're dealing with an ideological party that is driven by the lust for power, that is funded by corporate interests who want a government that does its bidding.
George Soros.
It's hard. You can be civil, but you can't overcome what they intend to do unless you win elections.
Well, would that happen to go towards something similar to elections have consequences? Well, that would be absolutely correct, wouldn't it? I wanted to play those for you because that's what we're facing. We, you, me, all of us listening right now. Listening on SHRmedia.com, listening by way of Periscope, the SHR Media YouTube channel, or on Facebook, or tons of people that listen to me on the podcast. We have a challenge, and we are being challenged right now. And you want to talk about happy stories? I'll tell you what, maybe we should go there right now.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
We're going to go all over the spectrum for this. Here's one. China blinked. Now Canada blinks on tariffs. That evil Donald John Trump. And imagine that. The whole world isn't collapsing upon itself into a massive ring of apocalyptic fire, as was predicted by the L Dam, okay? How prescient was it that Trump made a statement and, well, it becomes true. From Breitbart.com, China blinks in trade war, drops oil from retaliatory U.S. tariff list. The latest broadside fired by China in the trade war with the U.S. was a list of $16 billion in American imports subject to a 25% retaliatory tariff. One major item was it supposed to be on the list was quietly removed. Oil. Analysts wonder if this conspicuous omission is a sign China is blinking in its economic stare-down against the Trump administration. Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, it was. So then this happened. By the way, were you aware of the tariffs that Canada now had laid down upon the United States of America? Negotiating with Trudeau's Canada is kind of like negotiating with kids. So addressing just Canadian tariffs alone, there's a few. By the way, if you didn't know, Canada has 19,500 tariffs. The tariff on our dairy, 270%. On our sausage, 70%. Barley seeds, 58%. Durum wheat, 49%. Bovine products, 27%. Table linens, for God's sake, 18%. And yet, hello?
The U.S., Canada, and Mexico salvaged a free trade deal overnight that was on the brink of collapse. They announced agreement on a replacement for NAFTA just before the midnight deadline imposed by the Trump administration. The USMCA, which stands for...
Wait, did you hear what she just said? The Trump administration set a deadline and people blinked. He sets deadlines and people blink. Welcome, Dave Milner, to chat. Good to see you. And one viewer.
United States-Mexico-Canada agreement promises freer, fairer markets and robust economic growth in the region. President Trump called it a great deal for all three countries this morning.
Outstanding, and that's the point. U.S. and Canada reached trade deal to keep NAFTA trilateral. Sounds like a winning news story to me. And then there was Mike Pence, right after all this Kavanaugh crap. I think this is a happy story. Mike Pence from Fox News. The story goes, Pence faces Kavanaugh protesters, tells security detail, let's do it, as he walks down the Senate steps. VP Mike Pence refused to exit the Capitol building throughout a side entrance as he faced a horde of protesters shouting shame, 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 following the confirmation of Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh on Saturday. Pence was exiting toward the Senate steps with his security detail when he appeared to pause when a large crowd of demonstrators across the plaza increased their chanting as the doors opened to release the vice president. Sergeant-at-Arms Jim Moorhead reportedly told Pence he could exit through the carriage entrance if he preferred. Pence turned to his security detail, radioed the new exit, but he quickly stopped and pivoted. "Let's do it," he said. Imagine that as well. And then there was this.
On behalf of our nation...
Stop. If you couldn't guess, I'm sorry. No bottom of the hour break, because I have so much to go over.
I want to apologize to Brett and the entire Kavanaugh family for the terrible pain and suffering you have been forced to endure. A man or a woman must always be presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty.
All of America is predicated upon this. Otherwise, we have Napoleonic law, due process, the rule of law. What? On what planet do people think that doesn't hold in the United States of America?
Under the Constitution and laws of the United States.
Under the Constitution and laws of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Although the Supreme...
By the way, that was Anthony Kennedy swearing in Judge Brett Kavanaugh, now Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. By the way, Anthony Kennedy, if you didn't know, is from Sacramento, Fornicalia. When he came here back to his home, every leftist jumped into his crap while he was here. Anthony Kennedy, there's your good friends, your good neighbors giving you crap because you had a modicum of common sense.
Senate confirmation process tested me as it has tested others. It did not change me. My approach to judging remains the same. A good judge must be an umpire, a neutral and impartial decider who favors no litigant or policy. A judge must be independent and must interpret the law, not make the law. A judge must interpret...
Stop. That's where leftists hate this man. Not just don't like him, hate and despise this man.
Statutes as written. And a judge must interpret the Constitution as written, informed by history and tradition and precedent.
And that's why leftists absolutely despise him, because he doesn't want to legislate from the bench. You want to talk about some more happy stories? How about this from cnsnews.com? Federal government cut 1,000 jobs in September, 16,000 now under President Trump. The number of people employed by the federal government declined by 1,000 in September, according to data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Since President Donald Trump took office, federal employment has declined by 16,000. In December 2016, the month before Trump's inauguration, there were 2,810,000 people employed by the federal government, according to the BLS data. By August 2018, that had declined by 15,000 to 2,795,000. In September, it declined another 1,000 to 2,794,000 jobs. You want some more? You want more happy stories? Stand by. Here's also from cnsnews.com. Hispanic unemployment rate hits lowest level on record in September. The national seasonally adjusted unemployment rate for Hispanics and Latinos in the U.S. labor force fell to the lowest level on record in September of 2018, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data released on Friday currently show. In September, the unemployment rate for Hispanics and Latinos age 16 and up was 4.5%, tying July 2018 for the lowest level since the BLS began tracking Hispanic Latino employment data in 1973. I don't know. To me, that sounds a little bit like winning. Then there's another story from the Associated Press. U.S. overall unemployment falls to 3.7%, lowest since 1969. The U.S. unemployment rate fell in September to 3.7%, the lowest since 1969, when young men were being drafted to fight in Vietnam and the American auto industry and the space program were going full blast. The Labor Department reported Friday the rate edged down from 3.9% the month before as employers added 134,000 jobs, a figure that was probably depressed by the effects of Hurricane Florence in the South. Still and all beyond that, it extended an extraordinary 8.5-year streak of monthly job growth, the longest on record. That run has added nearly 20 million people to the nation's payrolls since the Great Recession, which cost nearly 9 million people their job. The ultra-low jobless rate, the best in nearly 49 years, reflects a healthy economy driven by strong consumer and business spending. In fact, hiring is so strong that employers are having trouble filling openings and some are being forced to offer higher pay. And that's what you do in a capitalistic society. There's an article that I want to go to right now, and I was thinking that maybe I was going to wait until Thursday. At this point, I'm not quite sure if there's going to be a Thursday show. Tentatively, because of things that are going on, there is going to be a Thursday show, but I'm going to have to play it by ear. But before that, if there was not a Thursday show, I have to read you this, because to me it is so incredibly important and critical. This is an article, an op-ed by Newt Gingrich. If Republicans want to defeat Democrats in 2018, they must do this. Oh, by the way, Mary Brockman says, oh, no, I'm sorry, Beantown Billy says, Red Sox win. Guaranteed. Wherever Sackhead Sean is right now, I'm sure that he is overjoyed and in a celebratory mood. He's just not around here right now, which tells me he's at work. This is what Newt Gingrich says that has to be done in 2018 for the Democrats to be defeated. Those who believe the elite left-wing blue wave theory for the 2018 elections should look at what happened to Texas this past Tuesday. That was 3 weeks ago now, by the way. In a special election runoff, Republican Pete Flores successfully flipped Texas State Senate District 19, which borders Mexico, and had been in Democrat control, listen to this, for 139 years. Flores, a political newcomer competing against a seasoned former Democrat congressman, won in a district that is 73% Hispanic and African American, despite virtually all political analysts' expectations. I'm studying this election for a future op-ed, but I've been told by many Texas Republicans that Flores was able to win because he ran a big choice campaign. Republicans everywhere should also study this Texan state special election and make the 2018 midterms a big choice election for all American voters. And with only 48 days left, by the way, now it's 27 days. It's 27 days left until November 6th. But Republicans have to act now, he says. Candidates, consultants, campaign managers, Republicans at every level must break out of the small ball, district-by-district campaign model and create a national message that defines a set of big choices that contrast Republican positions and those of the left. And people like myself, and probably many of you, have been saying this for a long time. Get out of the small frame. Get into the big frame, because that's where you can win, and that's where Democrats are the weakest. Play all those cuts, some of which I just played, that are some of the finest illustrations of what fucktards leftists are. Gingrich continues, otherwise the Democrats are very likely to achieve the so-called blue wave the liberal media has been touting for months. Now the blue wave, let's talk about this just for a moment, because on off years, on non-presidential election years, the midterms generally go to not the party sitting in the White House, which is why everybody's saying that November 6th, hey, that's a gimme. That's a gimme for the rats. And I'm telling you right now, folks, especially with Walkaway, after having spoken to Brandon Straka a week ago today, his Walkaway campaign is going to hit D.C. October 26th, 27th, and the 28th. And people are not even featuring the massive amount of folks that are being swept up in this Walkaway campaign. Anyway, Gingrich continues. I outlined the need for this kind of campaign and provided an in-depth look at how to implement it In my recently released political strategy paper called The Republican Choice for 2018, Win or Lose, which I've shared with a number of Republicans around the country. The paper is broken into four parts, but I'd like to focus on the first critical concept that I think can help Republicans design and execute the kind of campaign we need to win in 2018 and again in 2020. Starting right now, Republicans need to develop a set of big core issues that create a clear vision for a better future for Americans in completely personal terms, not platitudes. These issues and the Republicans' positions on them have to be broadly appealing to the vast majority of Americans. To me, that's just common sense. Again, what he's saying is not small ball. Not small ball at all. In the paper, I discuss a set of issues the Republicans could include in this big choice election narrative, such as favoring work over welfare, paychecks over food stamps, safe and orderly immigration over dangerous borderless chaos, personal health versus bureaucratic health, and others. But I'll expand on those in a future piece. In the meantime, Republicans should think critically and listen closely to their constituents to develop and communicate a robust set of big choices to voters over the next few weeks. It's critical that each of these big choices is popular. When we developed the contract with America in 1994, we polled every policy position to be included. Every pledge in the contract had 70% support from Americans. Some had 80% support. Issues that didn't have wide appeal didn't make it into the contract. It was that simple. Despite constant left-wing attacks and media bias, if Republicans put together a set of highly supported issues and policies, and this is the important part, and contrast them vividly with the unpopular liberal Democrat positions, the American people will support Republicans. However, it's not enough to attract support for our issues. We also have to clearly express how the Democrat alternatives to our positions are personally bad for Americans. This is going to drive powerful wedges between the Democrats and the American people. As Newt Gingrich explained in this, big choice campaigns invariably describe a better future, a future worth voting and fighting for in personal terms. You'll be better off. Your family will be better off. Your community will be better off. At the same time, the emerging majority describes the threat that the other side presents to potentially make life worse in similarly personal terms. And I've said this all along. Why can't we have some video makers take video that's out on YouTube, all over the internet, put all those cuts together, and let you hear and bombard people with what Democrats really think of Americans? And ship that out. Use their words against them. They say it. They must mean it. Let's do exactly that. These are campaigns about two different ways of life with two different impacts at personal levels. They work very hard at finding the right words and images about picking the right fights. Attacking Nancy Pelosi personally seems tactically clever, but tying her to outrageous and unacceptable policies is strategically far more powerful. Small choice campaigns look for petty personal weaknesses. Big choice elections focus on big differences. And the differences between the two camps are massive. And describing magnets of a better future to attract the voter, while they simultaneously hammer home wedge issues to drive the opposition away from the voter. I can't say as I disagree. Dave Milner in chat says Nudie has this wrong. Dave Milner. Let's see. Dave says, like Ken McClinton, the message has to personalize the successes of conservatism and how it's good for ordinary people and better than the violence and chaos on the left. Bingo. All right, let's do this. Exactly. And I think that's what Nudie is saying. It's all personal. Make the issues big. Make sure that the issues correspond to the importance of the people, but also illustrate how those issues, in a positive and deleterious fashion, personally impact all the lives of those that are watching those particular ads. I don't think we're at cross purposes with Dave and with Newt. In doing so, it's going to be easier for Republicans to speak to the American people with one voice. This is going to have the added benefit of allowing us to be more effective in fighting against distortions from the elite media and assaults on the left. I think he's making an excellent point. If Republicans are going to win in 2018, they can't fall into the old campaign habits of personal attacks, niche issues, relying on special interests, or skirmishing district by district. Furthermore, even though the Trump Republican-led government has brought us an incredible economy, historically low unemployment, a slew of strong judicial appointments. Oh boy, and have I got an article coming up about Hugh Hewitt about that? Little story about Hugh Hewitt, that's coming. That might be just a little bit after the top of the hour break. Anyway, he says, furthermore, though the Trump Republican-led government has brought us an incredible economy, historically low unemployment, a slew of strong judicial appointments, and many other successes, we can't take for granted that voters will be considering these things on Election Day. Bingo. If Republicans want to continue to lead and continue making America great for all Americans, they have to give the voters big choice in November. And the clock, it is ticking. There's a lot of good news out there. There's a ton of good news out there. And this took me the weekend to research and put all of this stuff together. And just like you, I was a little tempted to get a little ahead of myself. And because, if you can't crow every bit, just a little bit now and then, well, what can you do? Because there have to be consequences for losing, and there have to be consequences for winning. And then I thought, oh, there's so much stuff going on, I'm just getting bombarded. Well, okay. If you want to get bombarded, how about let's continue bombarding with good news in this fashion. Here's from the Washington Examiner. Manufacturing confidence at an all-time high despite a workforce shortage. Optimism among U.S. manufacturers is soaring as the Republican-led tax cuts help fuel a white-hot economy with the lowest unemployment numbers in over a decade. But a significant labor shortage is undermining the gains a new report shows. What does this say? It also says that business wasn't ready for this. Business had to learn how to do less with less under Obama. And the reason that businesses didn't expand is businesses have to know, they have to have a confidence level to be able to build a future. And just even with one aspect, let's go with the ACA route with healthcare. They had no idea from 1 month to another, 1 year to another under Obama, what kind of new crap was going to be slammed into the backs of their heads. And that's big business and small business as well. So if you can't do that, then you can't plan. If you can't plan, you can't hire. If you can't hire, then how do you expand? If you can't expand, how do you build a stock? How do you keep your inventory up? Too much inventory, too little inventory. Businesses could not plan. And that's why nearly 93% of manufacturers are projecting further expansion for their businesses under Trump, and positive sentiment among smaller companies is up 91.3%, according to a quarterly survey from the National Association of Manufacturers. It's one of the best outlooks the group has seen in the 20 years it's conducted the survey among its 14,000 members. We used to be happy when the number would get up into the mid and high 50s, Chief Executive Officer Jay Timmons told the Washington Examiner. Many of the Trump administration's largest achievements have been overshadowed by simultaneous controversies, but the strength of the U.S. economy has earned accolades even outside of the conservative base. While only 39% of voters approve of President Trump, that was then, even in a short amount of time, that's gone up. 70% say the U.S. economy is excellent, according to a Quinnipiac University poll released in September. And the hits just keep on coming. Because here, this is another story from the Washington Examiner again. 39%? Oh, no. This is just from 2 days ago. Trump's approval jumps to 51%. The majority of U.S. voters approve of President Trump's job in office, according to a new poll released Friday, marking the first time since May that he's enjoyed the support of more than half of voters. Stop. BZ. You got 10 more minutes till the top of the hour break, but at the beginning of the show, didn't you say something similar to that you laughed like a bastard because you were playing all these people, and the cuts that you said, look how all these polls were silly and stupid and fattening. Right. And a lot of these polls are biased. And do you think that these polls would exist and say anything about Trump in a positive fashion? So here's what I'm postulating, because I don't. My job, by the way, have you ever been polled? And it's an if-then equation. If you have been polled, then did you tell them the right answer? Did you give them the right answer? Did you tell them the way you really feel? Because my job, as far as I'm concerned, is to fuck with polls. Because I don't like polls. Because they skew statistics. I took statistic classes. I know how, when you craft the question, the fashion and the manner in which you craft the question determines the outcome of many of the questions that you ask. Just ask any poll taker. But still in all, the reason I'm mentioning this is because, do you suspect, in any means possible, and perhaps in another universe, which encompasses the planet Zephron, shall we say, do you think there might be polls out there that show that President Trump is actually, he possesses a popularity pushing maybe 60%? Do you think it's out there? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. And the reason I did that is because I'm comparing this to the polls that were taken right before the presidential election in November of 2016. And my God, how accurate were those polls as well? Just got to ask you. Let's go aside here just a little bit. Okay, stop right there. Yeah. In chat, Dave Milner says this. This is my point, Dave. Thank you. Sounds like they're using polls to create complacency among conservative voters. Bingo. Thank you. Yahtzee. Got it. Perfect. That's why I'm telling people, conservatives, libertarians, people that need to vote red in November. That's why you can't listen to the polls. Because the polls go up, the polls go down. And towards the last week, they might inflate polls to say that, it looks like President Trump has got it in the bag. It looks like the conservatives have got it in the bag. That's why you can't trust that stuff. That's why you cannot be complacent. I cannot be complacent. You cannot be complacent. That's the theme of the 2 hours of this entire show. Get out. Vote red in November. If you can, make it a red tsunami. But all we need to do is, we've kept the White House. All we need to do is keep the Senate. Even if we don't increase it, keep the Senate and keep the House right where it is. Dave Milner says polls are social engineering. And people that have taken statistics, again, that's very true. So what am I saying? I'm using this, like my university professors used to say, compare and contrast. Because of the American media maggots, do you think this may become more important as the days get closer to November 6th? The answer, of course, is yes. So taking them with a grain of salt or hugging them close to your bosom, don't listen to them. Get out to the polls. Don't trust that the conservatives or the Republicans are ahead. Don't be complacent. This is not the time, and these are not the midterms, and these are not the monkeys flying out of your butt. We can't take that chance. Like I said, I'm going to go laterally here just for a minute, because Susan Collins this past week happened to be one rational female voice in the political Senate wilderness. And trust me when I tell you, it is a wilderness. And I certainly never thought that after all these years, that these are truly the times of kabuki theater and lies and betrayal and backstabbing politics, abject character assassinations, and the reversal of most everything people commonly knew as good. But it has, and it's come to this point. Here's Senator Collins, Susan Collins of Maine, a Republican but frequently votes like a Democrat. And here's what the kind of junk that she had to wade through in order to get to the Senate chambers this past Saturday, I believe it was.
Out the way. Get out the way. We live in fear. How do you think Kavanaugh will make us feel? Excuse me, excuse us. I'm sorry. Keep going, guys. Thank you guys. Back up. Thank you guys. I'm sorry.
Excuse me,
everybody.
Back up. I will be voting yes on proceeding to the final confirmation vote, and I will announce my intentions on how to vote later today.
Thank you guys so much. Please do the right thing, Senator. You made your mind up on your final vote, though. Is it conceivable that your
So let the yelling and the shrieking commence, right? And that was called Senator Collins' the Kavanaugh elevator moment, right? Now, here's Senator Collins being cornered at a house. Don't know if it's hers.
I'm on the phone right now, as you can see.
And we've got somebody corralling her, trying to get her to talk.
I wanted to make sure that your staff was able to talk to you about what we came down for yesterday.
I've met with a whole bunch of groups of survivors and people from Maine, and I'm at my house, I'm on the telephone, so...
It came all the way from Maine, Senator Collins.
So what? So later at the Dirksen Senate building,
Sorry I startled you earlier.
so it's the same little woman back to confront Senator Collins.
Excuse me, everybody.
I will be voting yes on proceeding to the final confirmation.
What? Right. And then there was this. I don't have the time to play this. But if you haven't heard this, this is Susan Collins' speech on the floor before they took the Senate vote. And if you haven't heard this whole thing, this is I don't know, I think it ended up being a 36-minute to 48-minute speech, right around in there. I don't know the exact time. It was wonderful because she laid out in a completely logical and factual fashion, boom, bit by bit, why it was that she decided she was going to make her decision. I'm sorry, it was 43 minutes.
Are not permitted in the Senate galleries. The senator for Maine.
Mr. President. Mr. President, the 5 previous times that I've come to the floor to explain my vote on the nomination of a justice to the United States Supreme Court, I have begun my floor remarks explaining my decision with a recognition of the solemn nature and the importance of the occasion. But today, we have come to the conclusion of a confirmation process that has become so dysfunctional, it looks more like a caricature of a gutter-level political campaign than a solemn occasion.
Stop. We got about 2 more minutes before the top of the hour break, and I am going to take that break. If you don't think that Susan Collins had a lot of crap thrown at her, maybe even physically, I'm talking figuratively, and the pressure that she must have been under by anyone and everyone all the time up until that vote, I can actually feel for her. And I know you're thinking, BZ, what planet are you getting off of right now? She's a rhino. She's a rhino that saved our ass on Kavanaugh. Because eventually, how she got there, well, she's going to tell you how she got there. But what she very finally did is she agreed with the rule of law, common sense, due process, and people being innocent until proven guilty. Mary Brockman says her life is in danger. Well, all the senators, many representatives, even Sarah Huckabee Sanders has been issued security because of the death threats leveled by leftists against these people. When I come back, because it's 9 o'clock right now and it's midnight, the magic witching hour on the East Coast. When I come back, we're going to hear more of Susan Collins And if you don't think that I have tons more audio cuts and stories and happy stories to tell you, wow, how wrong would you be? These are not bad times for conservatives. We just have to get out and vote on November 6th. Don't stay home. We can't afford it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reaver Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
And we're back. Just a different intro. You know, I play things just to be different, except now where's my, there we go. Okay, my cursor is not playing nice with me. So when the computer gets backed up, it slows things down a little bit. Okay, but we're back. It's 5 minutes after. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios. We're going to continue for a while to listen to Susan Collins and what she had to say leading up to her positive affirmative vote for now Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh.
The president nominated Brett Kavanaugh on July 9th. Within moments of that announcement,
yes,
special interest groups raced to be the first to oppose him, including one organization that didn't even bother to fill in the judge's name on its pre-written press release. They simply wrote that they opposed Donald Trump's nomination of XX to the Supreme Court of the United States.
But see, in their world, that's all well and good. That's all fine. Now, Mary Brockman and some other people in chat were saying, hey, you know, and then there were threats, right? Well, here's a tweet. This is a fraction, and I captured these. This is a fraction of what Susan Collins faced thereafter. This is from somebody called Kat Calvin. Never let Collins have a moment of peace in public again, ever. This is from Susan Rice. Who wants to run for Senate in Maine? There will be an army of supporters with you. Then here's the circus ringmaster of everything, as Tucker Carlson calls him, the creepy porn lawyer, Michael Avenatti, who wrote in a tweet, at Senator Collins should be ashamed of herself for attacking my client and Dr. Ford. How did she make a credible determination as to my client? How is she qualified to do that without any investigation? Well, listen, let's see, Mikey baby, she was right in the same damn room when your client was testifying, or as Alan Dershowitz was saying, testa-lying, because it turns out that a lot of the people that she said, Christine Blasey Ford, were witnesses, just weren't witnesses. And when she said she had nothing to do with any polygraph information prior, and she said this under oath, well, it turns out that was a lie as well. Yeah. Not so brave. And in fact, a miserable, duplicitous wretch. Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who caved following... by the way, did you folks see this? I have this in my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. Here's a picture, and it was out there, of this. This is literally a physical bracing by Dianne Feinstein in the halls, caught by a cell phone camera, of Lisa Murkowski. Murkowski's back is up against the wall, as in, you'd better stand with the... And she's her... Just like people talk in movies with their faces about a foot away from each other. When was the last time you conducted a conversation with a rational human being and your face was a foot away from that person? Oh, that's right. Maybe when you're trying to intimidate, frighten, humiliate. As in, and this was, this is body language. It's like Dianne Feinstein is saying, you better stand with the women or we'll make your life, Murkowski, a living hell. Well, and then Murkowski pulled her own little ploy. Feinstein is invading Murkowski's personal space on this. She's backed Murkowski up against a wall, and that is a naked display of power in the placing of Feinstein's, if you can't see the photograph, Feinstein's left arm is upraised and against a wall. An upraised arm is a signifier, by the way, if you didn't know this, of potential power, as in, I could easily bring this down on top of you. It's primeval, but it's really very clear. A naked use of power. Imagine that. By the way, the 6'4" LBJ used to use that against politicians as well. Oh, and then there was this little fiery shot. Sarah Palin fires a warning shot, strongly hints at Senate run against Lisa Murkowski. I told you there was going to be good news. I told you there were going to be happy stories. Now maybe you're starting to believe me. Former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin strongly hinted at a challenge to Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska when Murkowski is next up for re-election in 2022. As you well know, representatives are up every 2 years, senators every 6. And so a 3-term incumbent, Murkowski is, by the way, she was undecided on the nomination of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, but guess what? In a really interesting little political ploy, did you guys hear what she pulled off? She voted, Murkowski voted present. Did you ever hear that? She voted present. Go look that up if you think that I happen to be wrong. Speaking of the protesters, as somebody in chat wrote earlier, I think it was Dave Milner, said drones. You want to hear drones? Here are leftist drones. And guess what they're doing? They're droning.
On cloture. They're voting on cloture. In 30 minutes. Meet me to the left. Meet me to the left. If you would like to go to an office. To spend time. With your senator. Go to that office.
Isn't this what you do to like 8-year-olds? Something like that? Yeah. Okay, then there was this guy down in the halls underneath the Capitol. And this is a guy telling women, a white male telling women what to do, leading a protest against going up and seeing the Senate offices. And a matter of fact, I think they're talking about Murkowski, if I'm not mistaken. Let's listen. And then somebody in the background of this says, "Oh, why are we going up there? They're on our side." This is insane. This is nonsensical.
Someone to vote.
Which is why I'm playing it for you.
Let's go watch the vote.
Let's go watch the vote.
In offices that you wish to communicate with.
In offices that you wish to communicate with.
I am going to go to Heidi Heitkamp's office.
I'm going to go to Heidi Heitkamp's office.
Why? She's on our side.
Heidi Heitkamp. Why? She's on our side. That's so great. I got to play that again.
Heitkamp's office.
Why? She's on our side.
After the vote.
He doesn't miss a beat. He just ignores her and throttles right along. Have you ever seen such silly crap? Not in my time. Isn't there an X factor? There is an X factor in all of this. And Beantown Billy said, "Yeah, I saw these zombies. I saw exactly what was going on." And then you have people like this. People like this are the Democrats' worst nightmare. The worst nightmare, because this is a twofer that's not going to be captured by the Democrats. What do I mean by twofer? Well, that's what the leftists call them. You're either a tool or you're an obstacle. She's black and she's female. And damn it, she's going to think all on her own. We can't have that.
I need to address some black people and maybe even some white people who have determined that myself and others are sellouts. First of all, I need to ask, sell out to whom? Because I checked my bank account and there's been no deposit for my support or opinion. Although, let's be clear, I would certainly accept one. Secondly, sell out from what? Like, do I owe my allegiance to the Democratic Party simply based on my skin color?
Uh-oh.
Are you telling me that because I'm black, I don't have the right to choose what is...
As a matter of fact, yes, the Democrats are thinking, yes, exactly that. That's the answer.
Morally, ethically, or financially better for me and my family? Really, black people? Many of you are the same black people that considered Bill Clinton the first black president simply because he blew a saxophone, smoked weed, and got his dick sucked in the Oval Office. Yet I'm a sellout. It didn't matter.
Thank God this is a late night show, huh?
To you that he was a prime component in the mass incarceration of black men. Yet I'm the sellout. And then when his wife decided to run for president, you told me that I should vote for her simply because she was a woman and the wife of the first black president. You didn't care that she was a prime supporter and praiser of Margaret Sanger, who killed black babies. Yet I'm...
Okay, stop right there. That's where I have to go. Because how many people do you hear on the left making this exact point? This is a factual point. This is a factual point, and the reason that I wanted to play this cut for you, she brings up history and the truth. This is the truth about the Democrats.
The sellout.
Yes, this is a walk-away video.
Didn't matter to you that she referred to black men as super predators, yet I'm the sellout. You said, vote for her anyway. It's okay. She's the lesser of two evils. Listen, Call me whatever you want to call me. Call me a sellout, a coon, an Uncle Tom. I don't care. But what you won't call me is a walking blind Democrat simply based on my skin color, as fabulous as it is.
I think you saw why I had to play that one, didn't you? But didn't I say I even have more good news? I have more happy stories. Here's another one that you didn't see trumpeted all across the lanes of the American media maggots, did you? This goes, President Trump donates his second quarter wages to the SBA, which is the Small Business Association. The evil President Donald John Trump, the guy with a dead orange cat on his head, the temerity of him for attempting to fool people by thinking he's somehow benevolent for donating portions of his $400,000 annual salary to various charities and agencies. Folks, look, don't you see? It's a ruse, it's a trick, it's a ploy, it's smoke and mirrors. It's a shell game, a scam, a dodge. It's naked subterfuge in an attempt to do what exactly? Subvert whom? Oh, yeah, maybe help a few people, but clearly the wrong people, okay? Instead of, say, like the MGC DTDA, which is the misgendered, colorblind dump truck drivers of America. Yeah, he should have sent his cash to them, right? Of course.
The president continues to donate his salary to various government departments. Today, we learned he gave his second quarter earnings to the Small Business Administration. The SBA says the money will be used for the Emerging Leaders Veterans Program.
Here's from the militarytimes.com. Trump donates salary for vet entrepreneurship. President Donald Trump on Wednesday donated his second quarter salary to a new SBA, Small Business Association, initiative to help veteran entrepreneurs. The second time this year he's given money to federal veterans initiatives, according to the White House. Well, that information fell flat on its damn face, didn't it? White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders announced the donation at the White House briefing on Wednesday. Linda McMahon, head of the Small Business Association, accepted the $100,000 check, saying the funds could be put to good use. Imagine that, but still in all, that evil President Trump giving his salary to disgusting American veterans instead of, like, the GMA, the Gay Midgets for Antifa, or maybe the SPAC, which is the Syphilitic Pustules for Anti-Cisgenderists, or the LRCOG, which is the Lesion-Ridden Cis-Shet Objectophilists for Genderqueers. That evil President Trump. Think of all the good he could have done with this, and instead, the evil that he did do. Then there's this from the Washington Examiner again. More happy stories. Independents, and do you see this as a consequence? And this is another reason that I'm bringing it to you. Independents disapprove of Democrats' handling of the Brett Kavanaugh nomination by a 28-point margin. Stop right there. Isn't that what all the leftists are saying? This election is going to ride on the backs of the independents because the independents are pissed off by the Republicans. So it's going to be the independents that are going to carry this. Right? Isn't that what you've heard? Except not quite so much. Philip Klein at the Washington Examiner says, after a blistering confirmation battle, Justice Brett Kavanaugh will take his seat for oral arguments on the U.S. Supreme Court with a skeptical public. By the way, he took those today. As a sitting Associate Justice, I should point out. Thank you, Mitch McConnell. A majority of which opposed his nomination. However, Democrats may not be able to exploit this fact in the upcoming elections as much as they hope, because the independent voters overwhelmingly disapprove of their own handling of the nomination by a 28-point margin. Uh-oh, this is bad. In a new CNN SSRS poll. Well, what does BC say about polls? Take them with a grain of salt. Also consider the source. We got about 10 more minutes. I think I can go through this next story. And the reason I want to read this to you is because it's from Hugh Hewitt. I listened to the Hugh Hewitt show for many years. And I was what Hugh Hewitt would consider a tribble. And there are a couple of people that are tribbles that come in here. Oh, by the way, welcome to Andy Wood. I'm sorry I didn't see you sneak in there. Welcome to you. And one viewer. We have another viewer. So that's Whiskey Dale. Whiskey Dale, Michael, Mary, Andy, Dave, Beantown Billy, and one viewer and a host of others. Anyway, I was a Hugh Hewitt devotee. And I would get into the Hugh Hewitt chat when he was on at 3 p.m. Pacific. And he's on for 3 hours. He'd get through at 6 o'clock. And for me, that was convenient to listen to. Then he decided, because he was going to get into politics and Salem Broadcasting, thought, well, let's take Hugh because he's so popular right now, and let's put him on the right coast. And so now Hugh's 6 a.m. right coast show is on at 3 a.m. for me. Now, do you think that BZ is getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning to listen to Hugh Hewitt anymore? No. So I don't really listen to Hugh Hewitt, and I've been very disappointed about Hugh Hewitt's reactions to President Donald John Trump. But even that's changing these days, which is why I printed out this story for you. Oh, by the way, Hugh Hewitt was replaced, at least on the left coast, with a gentleman that I've met twice now at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, Larry Elder. Larry Elder comes on the left coast at 3 p.m. Pacific, which would be 6 p.m. Eastern, and I listen to Larry Elder now, and I've grown to be as fond, if not more fond, of Larry Elder, who is, by the way, a libertarian, than I am of Hugh Hewitt. So I just really don't listen to very much of Hugh Hewitt these days. He hasn't gone particularly the way that I have. Our journey is not the same. So that having been said, you know that the Earth is about to reverse its polarity when certain never-Trumpers start to do one thing. Embrace Trump. Hugh Hewitt was never quite as laughably jejune and ridiculous, just out and out tottering ridiculous as my two people that I hate to hate, or love to hate, I should say, George Will, 0, or Bill Kristol, another 0. But you could sometimes see them from his radio studio. So here's Hugh Hewitt in a Washington Post op-ed. And let's see, today is the 9th. And this just came out yesterday as an op-ed in the Washington Post. Remember, Dave Milner says Larry Elder, good dude. You bet he is. Met him. He, by the way, he sat down in the SHR media booth and he conversed with us for a good 45 minutes. That was very kind of him to spend that amount of time with some people that he'd really never even met before. Anyway, this is an op-ed by Hugh Hewitt, formerly of Never Trump. This is the headline, Trump may be outside our norms, but he is succeeding for all of us. Now, see, if I had a producer, I would have had somebody set up this so that what you would have heard is Trump may be outside our norms, but he is succeeding for all of us. But, of course, I don't have a producer, and that's not what you heard. As President Trump's first 2 years in office come to a close, we've seen 2 originalist justices confirmed to the Supreme Court, 26 originalist appeals court judges confirmed, 10 more nominated, and 41 new district court judges on the bench, and dozens more pending. Add to that the repeal of the sequester on defense spending and a massive military rebuild underway, a massive tax cuts, a series of tax cuts of unprecedented depth and structural change, a renegotiated trade deal between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, withdrawals from the awful Iran deal, those are his words, awful Iran deal, and in effect the absurdist Paris Accords. The rollback of job-killing and bureaucrat-empowering regulations by the hundreds and an economy surging while unemployment drops to 3.7%. Yes, those are all facts. Facts and evidence. Don't forget, a new entente in the Middle East, one that arose despite U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, another massive plus in BZ's cap as far as I'm concerned, that sees the United States and Israel aligned and cooperating closely with Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Bahrain, and now a new government in Iraq against the expansionist Iranian theocrats. Did I mention the devastation and defeat of ISIS in its physical caliphate? That's not even the entire list of accomplishments, but it's enough to have silenced the hashtag Never Trumpers, who used to mock Trump-supporting conservatives by posting a street sign carrying the name Gorsuch above rising floodwaters. I want to say something about that, but I'm going to be nice. By the way, to those Never Trumpers who posted a street sign carrying the name Gorsuch above rising floodwaters, oh yeah, I'm going to say it, it's a late-night show. Fuck you. Those of us who follow the president's often confusing, loud, extemporaneous, and disruptive presidency, not by his tweets, but by his administration's deeds. What have I said? And continue to say for quite some time, deeds, not words. And those of congressional Republicans are amused that the hashtag NeverTrumpRump has stopped the but Gorsuch nonsense. Many of the successes, especially with regard to the judiciary, are because of the this is a true statement. Say what you will about Mitch McConnell, a host of things in his past. What Hugh Hewitt writes now in this op-ed, golden. Many of the successes, especially with regard to the judiciary, are because of the unparalleled skill of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican Kentucky, supported by Judiciary Committee Chairman Charles Grassley, who was stellar during the Judiciary Committee hearings, and the Senate GOP caucus, which is almost always held together as a whole. I'm glad he predicates that with almost. McConnell is, Hewitt writes, as I've said before, the single most effective congressional leader the GOP has had in my lifetime. And I would kind of have to concur with that. McConnell gave us Gorsuch, and McConnell gave us Kavanaugh. And it looks as if his majority is going to grow in November. The Republican House majority may be preserved as well. Speaker Paul Ryan and Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy and their caucus drafted and passed the tax bill as well as 14 Congressional Review Act resolutions and the robust military spending bills. Republican candidates should point out to the achievements outlined above and the rapidly expanding economy in their closing campaigns. They should also dwell on the prospect of the enraged left controlling anything in government. Democrat Gerald Nadler of New York, who would take the gavel of the House Judiciary Committee, has already promised a pursuit of Justice Brett M. Kavanaugh to satisfy his party's fringe. Democrat I'm going to throw this out here, crazy Maxine Waters, who would gain the gavel of the House Financial Services Committee, has urged the physical pursuit of her Republican colleagues across and out on public places. The radical rump of the Democrats, led again by Nancy Pelosi, San Fran Nan, would set out to destroy the Trump economic momentum and to paralyze the regulatory rollback with 100 hearings and inquisitions. All very true, as he points out. Trump is as wearying today as Andrew Jackson must have been in 1829 to the people of both parties who are used to different rule sets. I'm one of them. Thus, my criticisms of the president are many and detailed, but my fear of the wild-eyed left is far greater than my discomfort with his bull-in-a-china-shop politics. I say, this is me now, I say Donald Trump has irreversibly changed the Republican Party. The upheaval is precisely what I voted for. Yeah, it's tense. It's tough. I don't always agree, but my God, you got to ask yourself, what other president has kept so many of his campaign promises? And how many have set the American media maggots on their heels and exposed the deep state and revealed the horribly undermining goals of the LDAM, what I call the leftists, the Democrats, the American media maggots? Frankly, anymore, I just about don't give a shite about what Donald Trump says. I am, however, as I indicated, all about deeds. What he does, deeds, not words. Hugh Hewitt continues. The left we saw this week and last contrasts unfavorably with the president's hyperbole and occasional cruelty. To which I respond, oh, come on. Come on, Hugh. Cruelty, give it a fucking rest. It's now a snarling, enraged collective scream. To give it power would be to risk fraying even further the common bonds of citizenship. Best for them to spend a long time in the wilderness as the San Francisco Democrats of 1984, so very wrong about the Soviet Union, need to endure. After the attempted sliming of Kavanaugh, voters must not reward that outburst of the new McCarthyism in the least, or it will be repeated. Facts, again, and evidence, that's very true. Review the first few paragraphs above. Vote to repeal those sorts of achievements instead of empowering the enraged mobs. That's what they want to do. Don't just return the Republicans, increase their majorities and increase prosperity and security, judicial restraint and free enterprise, even as we collectively figure out a president who may be outside our national norms for the office, but who is succeeding for us after all.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplainstalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's no surrender ever, because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m., right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider thingies.
The
those
what?
things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on shrmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you
Against
go.
tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And we're back. It's the final 25. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, as I sit in the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Studios, with the flag of honor behind me and the law enforcement flag of the thin blue line right behind me as well. It is October the 9th already, except it's October the 10th on the East Coast, but here on the Pacific Coast, it's October the 9th, the year of our Lord 2018. We've been talking tonight about all the good things that have been happening, and there are some great and wonderful, good, happy stories that have been occurring. And I've been regaling you with tales and insisting all along that we cannot afford to be complacent. We cannot show any complacency. You got to get out. You got to vote red in November. You can't take anything for granted. Absolutely nothing. And here's President Trump at a conference, a very brief conference that was set up, and it's about the Democrats and the Rosenstein press conference. And this was yesterday, if I'm not believing.
We're going to a law enforcement speech and meeting, and he'll be flying. I look forward to being with him. That'll be very nice. Well, we're going to be talking. We'll be talking on the...
By the way, if you didn't know, he had Rod Rosenstein on this flight, and however long it took for Air Force One to go from points A to B, my guess would be he was speaking to Rod Rosenstein. This is kind of important because I don't hear, nor am I hearing anything about Rod Rosenstein being fired or at least removed from the Mueller campaign. So still, I submit, there is much afoot.
I actually have a good relationship other than there's been no collusion, folks, no collusion. And but I have a very good relationship. We'll see. I don't hear you. No, I don't. No. Say it. I thought the way they behaved was absolutely atrocious. I've never seen anything like it. From the leaks of important documents to the statements they made, to watching a Blumenthal who was a fraudster when it came to Vietnam, and what he did was horrible. I thought that...
I'm going to have to stop this because there's that big, nasty turban whine in the background, and with my very sensitive shell-like ears, I can't take much more of that. However, he was flying basically to an IACP conference. That's the International Association Chiefs of Police Conference that the president went to appear in front of and make a speech in front of. Not once did our former Grand Obama decide that he was going to lower himself to going to an IACP conference at all, yet President Trump, the guy with the dead orange cat on his head, has decided that he went there to praise America's law enforcement during an Orlando speech to police chiefs itself. And he had a lot of great things to say, imagine that, about law enforcement. Finally, here's our president.
Thank you as well to our Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, for being here. Flew down together. The press wants to know, what did you talk about?
Wouldn't you like to have been a fly on that wall?
But we had a very good talk, I will say it. That became a very big story, actually, folks. We had a good talk. And I have directed the Attorney General's office to immediately go to the great city of Chicago to help straighten out the terrible shooting wave. Want to straighten it out fast. There's no reason for what's going on there.
By the way, just in case you didn't know about the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, is basically the world's largest police leadership professional organization. It has more than 30,000 members in 150 countries, and they are all leaders, chiefs, or heads of police organizations. But insufficient for Obama to lower himself to appear in front of.
I've told them to work with local authorities to try to change the terrible deal the city of Chicago entered into with ACLU, which ties law enforcement's hands, and to strongly consider stop and frisk. It works, and it was meant for problems like Chicago. It was meant for it. Stop and frisk.
But I'm sorry, that's way too much like using common sense, isn't it? Which is one of the reasons that New York decided to do away with it, because the leftist mayors there wouldn't have anything to do with it, but crime went down under that. Here's another happy story, one that you probably didn't hear much about. This is from the Washington Post. Some anti-Kavanaugh protesters were paid, a journalist reveals. And I know you're shocked, and if I had a producer, my producer would have played something like this.
You're a loony.
Or maybe even this. But I don't have a producer, so that's not what you hear. Professional activists helped harness energy to make viral moments. A journalist embedded with anti-Kavanaugh protesters says that some protesters were in fact paid, as President Trump has alleged. Imagine that. This is a quote. A lot of them were normal people who were mad, said Vice D.C. Bureau Chief Shauna Thomas on ABC's This Week, adding, "We also saw people who were organized." I know, for you and me, this is a shock. You might as well hit us in the head with a 2x4. She pointed to activists who confronted Senator Jeff Flake, Arizona Republican, in an elevator late last month before the Senate Judiciary Committee voted on the Supreme Court nomination of Judge Brett M. Kavanaugh, who has since been confirmed. That moment with Jeff Flake on the Hill, Ms. Thomas said, "We talked to one woman who works for Ultraviolet, who was paid. She helped steer people in the right ways to be able to confront senators." Imagine that. Here's a tweet from Brent Bozell. "Honesty broke out on Sunday. Yes, you can find protesters who are paid to create viral moments of protest." Imagine that. But this is something that you and I already knew existed. There were people who were paid by organizations like Ultraviolet to try to harness that energy in a way that would make the viral moments that we ended up seeing, said Ms. Thomas. Her comments came with Republicans calling into question the amateur status of the anti-Kavanaugh protesters who roiled Capitol Hill during the confirmation process. More than 300 protesters were arrested last week as large crowds rallied around the Senate and Supreme Court, with hundreds spilling into the Senate buildings to confront senators directly in the halls. Ms. Thomas later tweeted that professionals helping volunteer activists with tactics were not the same as people with no interest in the issue being paid to protest. Okay, now this just happened, and I'm going to pull this up. This was a tweet that I sent out not long ago, and I hadn't put it in here for the show, but I'm going to find it because this is a wonderful, wonderful tweet that I sent out. If I can find that bad boy. Here we go, because this is a tweet from an Antifa person. And it's to somebody that apparently has some kind of information about, or excuse me, is an influencer with regard to cash. Because Antifa, as you no doubt suspect, many of them have been paid with cash from left organizations. And the bulk of that cash does, in fact, come from George Soros. And I know you know this as well. And this is the tweet that's right in front of me right now. You can't see it, but it's on my smartphone here. And because it's a late night show, I'm going to go ahead and read it verbatim. because I put this out as funny. This is amusing. After I read this, I had to laugh. And it starts out like this, and there's an Antifa logo over on the upper left. You would expect no less, right? On the upper left of this missive. And it goes, "You really fucked us. We organized this event like we've done a million fucking times before. We followed the formula that we've used in Europe and the U.S. for years, i.e. show up, fuck up fascist faces, break some random shit, watch the right-wing tears. But this time was different, and it's your fucking fault. We didn't get slaps on the wrist. We didn't get lost in the crowd. We got fucking rounded up and arrested. Now, some of us, like yours truly, got bailed out by our backers, but we have court dates and 10 fucking years in jail. For hundreds of us, this is fucking insane. It's not fair. It's not fucking fair. We're not fascists like you fucks. We're the good guys. You have no idea how much this is hurting you. A fuck ton of our young members are just checking out because guess fucking what? They don't want to go to jail. Fuck you, Poles. Fuck you." Oh, that's an Antifa person who's pissed off because they actually had to go to jail. Oh, sad. Commence the tears. Imagine that. I have to admit, after I read that, I laughed like a crazy bastard. Here's another article that just came out. Now, this can be good or this can be bad, depending upon your political viewpoint. I know what the Washington Times was trying to do and what they were trying to say, but my guess would be leftists are going to interpret this in an entirely different fashion. The article from the Washington Times, the headline is, "Justice Brett Kavanaugh gets to work with an all-female clerk staff." Newly confirmed, Justice Brett Kavanaugh jumped into work with his team of all-female law clerks. The group of 4 women prepped with their new boss before he joined the Supreme Court on Tuesday as it begins the second week of its term. Only one clerk, Kim Jackson, worked with Justice Kavanaugh in the past. The other 3, Shannon Grammel, Megan Lacey, and Sarah Nominson, are all new hires but previously worked for appeals court judges appointed during Republican presidencies. The group fulfills a promise then Judge Kavanaugh made during the confirmation process to hire an all-female law clerk team. He's the first on the Supreme Court. Listen to this. He's the first on the Supreme Court to have a team of all-female law clerks, the New York Times reported Sunday night. Imagine that. So, you know what the leftists are going to make of this. And so this could either be the best thing, or, as the leftists are going to say, this is going to be the worst thing. Because you know what? Working around women like that, you know he's going to sexually harass them. And he's going to do even worse. Make bad jokes. Who knows how he's going to touch them. And they'll probably carry his water. Because they're Republican women, and they won't out him. They won't report him. You know for a fact that's what's going through the brains of leftists right now. This isn't Judge Kavanaugh trying to show that he actually respects women. No, this is Judge Kavanaugh. It's all a ploy. It's a sham, and you shouldn't be listening to it at all. Maybe we should be listening to more meltdowns.
Oh. Kavanaugh has got to go! Hey, hey! Get tired of this patriarchal, controlling bullshit! Shut it down! Shut it down! Shut it down!
By the way, I love this because here are leftists pounding on the wooden doors of the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're using their poor little nails to try to open the door. Oh, those poor little pixies!
Shut it down! Shut it down!
Let us in. We're 5-year-olds pounding on the door. Let us in to protest. Okay, I think I'm pretty much done with that, too. But if you didn't see that, Yeah, well, you should have. Oh, do I have a cut from Nancy Pelosi in here as well? Well, you'd be sad if I didn't,
Smear.
right?
If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it. And
How does she know about this? Maybe I can tell you a little inside baseball. It's their own policy that she's revealing right now.
if they see it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear.
Right.
And then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
Yeah. Do you see? She couldn't even not out herself. You know, the smear that we made. Yeah, you know, Nancy. We, like the Democrats. Thanks for being briefly honest there, just for a moment.
And it's self-evident.
Come on. Yeah, it's self-evident. Well, who started that? Oh, wait. Let's see. We got about 8 more minutes. I didn't know that I was going to have enough time to put this in here. But I am. I found this, and I'm going to play it for you. This is a glorious audio cut. You've heard the phrase word salad, right? I'm sure you have. A bunch of jumbled gobbledygook that really doesn't mean anything to anybody. Now, I want you to listen to this very closely. Because did you listen to my interview, my full 1-hour interview with Brandon Straka a week ago, last Tuesday? If you haven't, you need to play it. He spoke with me, the originator and the creator of the entire Walkaway program, for a full hour. And one thing that he mentioned was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And he said, if nothing else, she's entertaining. And he had a great point. So listen to this, because AOC is very entertaining here, but tell me if you can suss out what the fuck she meant by this.
How are you going to get along with these people in Washington? I mean, I think you're going to win. That's a prediction I'm making. I don't know. I mean, you never just till the bell rings. But you're in a very heavily Democratic district. You're going there. I mean, you're going there. There's a time where people were talking about how it's broken and it's so polarized, both of which I think are true. And you're also coming really as an outsider at a moment where I think people are watching what happened today and want to storm the gates. And you're going to actually do that. So what's your plan here?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with changing our strategy around governance. There's a lot of inside baseball and inside the beltway, as you always hear that term thrown around. But there are very few organizers in Congress, and I do think that organizers operate differently. It's a different kind of strategy, and what it is really about organizing and really thinking about that word, organizing, segmenting people, being strategic in their actions, in really bringing together a cohesive strategy of putting pressure on the chamber instead of only focusing on the pressures inside the chamber.
That's a really interesting thought.
That's a really interesting thought. Now, folks, can you translate what she just said? Because I can't. Now, tell you what, let's hear someone who does really decide that he's going to rip the media a new butthole. Chuck Grassley, take it away, dude.
Right now, I'd say I don't know, and I don't know whether there's any reason to. I think that what I'd like to do when we get all done, because this is almost rock bottom, I would like to have the future mending things so we can do things in a collegial way that the United States Senate ought to do, and particularly when it comes to Supreme Court nominations. And you folks can have something to do with this. Now, I would never use the word fake news. I consider you folks policemen for our democratic system of government, but I want to show you where some of you have bias. I've had demonstrators.
By the way, if you haven't heard this, this is a great example.
In my office for 2 weeks now, both for Kavanaugh and against Kavanaugh. And one time, the people that were for Kavanaugh wanted to be interviewed. And they said, we're only interested in interviewing people against Kavanaugh. Now, that's a bias that none of you should be proud of.
Chairman Grassley, Dr. Ford.
And again, Chuck Grassley spoke the truth. Here's a cut. Okay. Let me set this up a little bit. About 32 seconds long. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the one where a bunch of shrieking harridans who need to grow up end up dislike being told by Senator Orrin Hatch that they need to grow up. So let me see if I can cue this bad boy up. And I think you'll be able to hear it. As I say, this is Senator Orrin Hatch, and he actually tells these people, he dismisses them with a wave of his hand, which in terms of video I'd love to show you, but listen to what he says as well.
Why aren't you brave enough to talk to us and exchange it with us? Don't you wave your hand at me. I wave my hand at you.
When you grow up.
When I grow up, how dare you talk to women that way? How dare you that first? How dare you? That's right.
You gotta hold the door, ma'am. You're gonna get arrested. Senator, do you
And as the doors close, he waves his hand dismissively at them and like, you can go away now. I told you this was going to be a ton of good stuff, didn't I? Here's I think I'm going to end up with this. This is, I don't know if you ever saw this video or heard the audio cut. This is CNN's Brian Stelter getting schooled. I mean, just ripped apart by someone that you didn't expect. A dude by the name of Ted Koppel.
The report.
Oh, come on. Don't do this to me. Let me see if I can get right over to this. Because YouTube is giving me some trouble. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's back up here just a little bit. Okay. Let's go to Ted. Okay. Ted, take it away.
Everybody here keeps talking about ideology and politics. Money. 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 Donald Trump has been very, very good for baseball. He has been wonderful for the industry. Your boss acknowledged as much a number of months ago during the campaign.
Les Moonves.
Donald Trump, huh?
It was Les Moonves who acknowledged
Les Moonves also acknowledged it, but so did the head of CNN.
But that means what? If ratings are up, that means what?
The ratings are up. It means you can't do without Donald Trump. You would be lost without Donald Trump.
That is what he says. Ted, you know that's not true.
CNN's ratings would be in the toilet without Donald Trump.
You know that's not true. You're playing for laughs. You've lived through enough presidencies to know there will be more presidents.
What were the ratings before Trump and what are the ratings now?
I would say we might be up 20, we might be up 30%, we might be up 40%. If we go back down 40%, that's okay too.
Really?
Well, it may not be. I reject the
I don't know about you. I've had a great time doing this show. But again, I need to point out something that I consider very, very important. And that's things aren't always as they seem. And we cannot afford to give up. We cannot afford to go away. We have to remember that we absolutely must vote red in November. Because we have to keep the House. We have to keep the Senate. We gotta mail in our absentee ballots. We can let nothing, absolutely nothing, deter us from appearing at the polls on November the 6th. It doesn't matter the circumstances or the weather or anything else. Because we know for a fact leftist Democrats and the American media maggots want to do one thing: destroy us. Psychically, mentally, and if nothing else, physically as well. So next Thursday, tune in. Tomorrow night, tune in. Thanks to everybody for being here tonight. I have had a great time. It's not lost, folks. It's actually looking damn good. Take care. God bless. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now. Get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim.
Good night, and good luck.